One. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Or Twitch. Twitter. We were just talking about that off air. I'm your host, Doug Engler. Joining me in the co-host seat, as always, is our good friend, Mr. Darren Starling.
Hello.
Our other co-host, Angela, is still on vacation. Hopefully, they are having a wonderful time in Paris. And we will hear more about that when she returns on November 6th, next Sunday here on the show. We want to remind everybody that Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by Home Circle Media for the latest and greatest in anime gear. Everything from pens, pencil, stationery, and officially licensed art books. Be sure to check out homecirclemedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. We're also brought to you tonight by Casey Fox. For all of your artwork, cosplay, and photography needs, be sure to check out Casey Fox. That's KAYCIFOXX on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Again, big thank you to everybody who's tuning in tonight for Anime-Zing Radio here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We have an awesome guest joining us tonight. We have Colin Harvey from Anime-Zing is joining us tonight. Anime-Zing is a wonderful small con that's been going on for, I think, about 10 years in the South Portland, Maine area. We've attended it many times, and we are excited to have you join us. Thank you so much, Colin.
No, thank you for inviting me.
And for our viewers out there and people listening through the podcast side, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and exactly what Anime-Zing is.
All right, well, so Anime-Zing is a convention that we started in 2011, and the reason we'd been going to, my friends and I, we who started the con, we've been going to cons, for years, and we've always really liked them. I think PortCon was our first con that we ever went to, and then we started going to other ones in the New England area. Anime Boston was always a big one that we loved, still love. And the reason we started the con is way back in like 2010, or not 2010, it would be like 2009-ish area. We'd gone to Anime Boston and we saw one of Greg Ayers' panels about bootlegs. And how the harm that it kind of does to the media or to anime and stuff like that. And so we were just kind of thinking it would be a really cool thing to do a kind of, anti-bootleg kind of like, support the industry little con. And that's kind of where the idea started. And we just kind of went from there, and we just kind of like just went into the planning. We started looking at convention centers, putting together a budget, talking to some people we knew that worked at cons, getting their advice, and then somehow we pulled it off, despite quite a few. They weren't fun setbacks, but thinking back on them, it's fun that we kind of overcame them. And we started the con 2011, and we just kind of kept going since then. And that's kind of our brief history, and we're always really kind of trying to push kind of a pro-creator, anti-bootleg type of atmosphere, which I think is over the years it's been nice to see the kind of change where bootlegs are far less prevalent. I'm not saying that they're not prevalent; they're still all over the place, but far less than they were back when we started this. I don't know how much of that was because of us. I like to think it was a good bit, but it's probably more has to do with the fact that streaming became so accessible. But yeah, that's our kind of bit of a history of the con. This year, we are actually back after a 2-year break thanks to COVID. And we are actually in just 2 weeks from now is when the con starts, November 11th to 13th. We're in South Portland, Maine, at the Best Western Mary Manor, right at the end of Route 1. And we're back after the 2 years. So we are our kind of theme this year is time skip, since we thought that was a little neat theme since we kind of skipped a bit of a 2-year gap. This would have been it is, I guess, our 10th anniversary, just not when you'd normally think the 10th anniversary would be because of the time skip. So we're putting together a pretty good con. and we're looking forward to the next 2 weeks to see everyone there.
Now, talking about being against the bootlegs and stuff, if I remember correctly through some of the history of Anime, you've had things like a bonfire to destroy bootlegs and things like that in the past, haven't
Oh
you?
yeah, this was one of the things that I got called crazy for this, by the way, at the time. The rest of our kind of staff was like, "This is crazy, Colin. I don't know why you want to do this, but okay." Um, we for that first year, I rented a steamroller, uh, and we got a big old pile of bootlegs, threw them on the ground, and just started running over them with the steamroller. Greg Ayers was our guest that first year, and he was just absolutely ecstatic that he got to just crush these bootlegs with a steamroller. It was a pretty fun year, and every year since then um, we have an event called the Bootleg Bomber, where it's a little two-part event. The first part is a little bit of an education about what bootlegs are, how to spot them, and the second part is where we do some really cool destruction. And yeah, we did have a fire 1 year. 1 year only, never doing that again. Um, we had fire. We had a Blendtec blender. We made a pinata that attendees got to come up and whack and destroy. We did deep frying 1 year. Liquid nitrogen, which has been one of my favorite ones. I think last year or 2019 was a hydraulic press. Uh, I I don't know how many I just listed off, but that's all I can think of. If I've missed some, there's definitely more. But man, it's been it's just a fun little hour of destruction that we get to do. Uh,
What do you think, Darren? Have you heard of stuff like this from other cons down in your area?
Absolutely not.
That's one thing that drew me to this con is I'm a big supporter of the industry. I try to avoid bootlegs and stuff. Early on, we all got sucked into bootlegs off of eBay, things of
mhm,
that nature. But those who truly love the industry, love anime, and respect the people who work on it, want to do their best to support it.
mhm,
And Darren, you're a figure collector like I am, and you talk a lot about looking for authentic figures as opposed to bootlegs.
hmm And for the most part, all my stuff is authentic. There's one that I question only because of the box that it came in. There was no English on it whatsoever, which makes it highly suspect. But in terms of the figure quality, I mean, the figure quality is still good. But like I said, I'm not 100% sure if it's a bootleg or not.
mhm. Yeah, it's I think like the majority, actually not the majority, all of the bootlegs we destroy in these panels or in this event, they've all been bootlegs that I or some of my friends have purchased in the past unknowingly because we didn't know what bootlegs were way back when. Yeah, I mean, like, I might have known what they were, but not quite fully understood what they were, the impact that it kind of had on the industry, especially back then. So everything we had is just been donated by people who have found bootlegs in their collection and they wanted to donate it to our event to help promote the awareness. So
Mm. Uh, if I'm about to say, how often do you catch bootlegs being sold at conventions from various vendors? Do you ever catch like official licensed vendors selling bootlegs, or do you ever, or is it mostly just like your average vendors that may have a small shop selling bootlegs, or where have you found the majority of your bootlegs?
Um, so it's far less prevalent, at least in the area of where I've been. Way back when we started, I would catch quite a few vendors that were selling stuff. These days, I think most conventions have a no bootleg policy. Whether or not they enforce that is up for debate sometimes, or how strongly they want to enforce it. Um, I almost got into a fight at a convention because of that once, but that's a different story. Um, and basically these days I don't see it too much, which is real nice to see. But back when I did, it was usually I would find it at the vendors that kind of had a kind of like everything, like I don't know what to call the everything vendors is what I would call them. They'd have like DVDs, they'd have figures, they'd have plushes, they have different like the all, which I mean a lot of the vendors all had everything. So, but they were usually the bigger ones that had the like 5, 6 booths all strung together. Is where I
Okay.
would find it the most of the time.
I think I got mine that I suspect to be a bootleg. They only had like one booth, one or two booths tops, and they were mostly figures. Maybe they had some. I don't remember. This was like 6, 7 years ago.
Hmm. Can you find any of the like copyright or trademark marks on the figure itself?
Probably not. But then again, most of mine I don't think have that.
Yeah, I'm not
Um,
too up and up on the figure on detecting figure bootlegs. Um,
I do know that the box that they come in is a big help. Um,
mhm.
let me see if I hold on. I got my. Let me see if I can find my boxes.
What like the unit figure that I just got off of I bought off of
Um,
Amazon. This is the box that it come in, and because it has the Kodakawa stamp right here,
Mhm.
that right there
Mm.
tells me that this isn't officially licensed because a bootleg will not have a sticker on there. It will be some sort of bad printing or misspelling or something like
Or
that.
just nothing. Yeah.
I watched a few different videos on how to tell authentic figures from bootleg figures based off of what's on the boxes. Pop
Mhm.
Up Parade, it's hard to find the bootlegs of. There are some out there from what I hear, but um, fortunately for the Pop Up Parade stuff I've never encountered a bootleg.
Mm. Yeah,
like I said, I'm pretty sure this one is, and now that I look at the box, I'm reminded that I don't know if you can see that. Why does it have Spanish on it? And look how they spelled China.
made in maybe. Well, I think that might just
CHAI.
be. I think that might just be. Well, no, I don't know. To look.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
because
because
what?
my other ones.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Trying to get a better lighting here to see how that's got the official.
Mm. Yeah, one of the difficult things, especially with figures, is that there's a I don't know if it's a class of bootlegs. There's some bootlegs that are basically made by the same factory that makes the official ones. They do the run that they've been or that has been ordered from them, and then they send that off to the official person who's ordered it, and then they run maybe like 100 or more, and then those ones, although it's the exact same figure, are bootlegs because they were made by this other or by this company to be sold, outside of the the thing. Even though they were using the same molds, they are not official, and that happens sometimes. So,
Saying this one, I don't know where this is from. Never took it out of the box. Got it in a grab bag one year.
mhm. Yeah. Though
Interesting.
I have noticed, and this is not a good. This is no, never mind. No, it's a bad way to tell. So no. Usually, if you can find the like trademark or the copyright, that's the best indication. Although I have seen some bootlegs that have a fake copyright on them, which is annoying.
And it's really cool, and I'm sure not just figures of bootleg stuff. You've probably had a lot of DVDs,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
things people thought were officially licensed artwork or
Oh yeah.
things of that nature as well.
Yeah. We'd get a lot of DVDs, CDs, of music CDs. One of the big ones, or big ones that people don't really kind of think about, is they're like
But are you talking about the wall scrolls or the actual
Not,
posters?
I mean, wall scrolls are a whole other class of bootlegs, but there's these posters that are kind of like they're not, I mean, they're paper, but they're like a kind of plasticky paper. They're hard to rip. And they usually have a number code at the bottom. But the biggest telltale is there's no copyright or trademark anywhere. And if it were an official poster, that would be there. Um, it's harder to tell with posters, especially the bigger types, because usually when those get bootlegged, they've just been scanned and then reprinted. So if there were any copyright on it, it would still be on there. And which is that's my personal challenge with bootlegs, because I collect like everything Evangelion, especially if it's older from like the 90s. And I would love, there's so many posters that were released, but I have no idea when looking for posters if they're authentic or just reprints that someone has done.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. I haven't cleaned my closet out, so a lot of my stuff is still sitting here when it should probably be on display somewhere. I mean, I got a whole box of my Blu-rays and stuff over here that's literally just been sitting here since I moved.
Yeah, I've got I've run out of shelf space for my figures. So heaven help me if there's any figure dealers that are going to be at Anime-Zing, because I have the bad habit of buying one of two things when I go to conventions. I either get an autograph or a figure. And I usually get picked on by either Darren or Angela, depending on which it is.
Depends on which one cost you more money.
So I am excited about returning to Anime-Zing, and I saw that you guys have an idol showcase going on this year.
Yes, we do have so there's an idol group, Kirameku Melody, and they're hosting an idol showcase, which is going to be exhibiting idol dances from groups, and solo performers of various idol franchises. And it's going to be a cool little event. On our Facebook page has a bit more information, which is, well, it would be good if I knew our Facebook page address.
Facebook.com/Anime-Zing official.
Yes, Anime official.
I have that pulled up already. I am prepared.
Say screen share or
Yeah, let me move this over so I can screen share. And
so you forget that screen share is an option, don't you?
sometimes, other times, I have like 20 tabs open, just going through different information, and I completely overlook the fact that I can screen share it.
Yeah, we got a bunch of cool things lined up for this year. We're really, because it's our first year back, we're a little toned down just because of funding and just working around the issues with planning a convention through some COVID. But we're doing a lot of kind of more. We're having a few like creator focused things. We're doing a lot of games, like interactive, like social interactive games, social deceptive things like a werewolf, Blood on the Clock Tower, Samurai versus Ninja, different kind of fun games to really get people involved. Scott Melzer?
Yes.
Yeah, he's helping us plan some of those. But
oh, sweet. I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah, he's real cool. And one of the things that he's said to me that I remember and keep trying to implement more, and it always kind of falls by the wayside. So hope some of that's in here. One of the things he would say, talking about conventions is, why do people go to conventions? And a lot of people say it's, it's for the guests or for the dealers' rooms. But one thing Scott would always kind of say is like what you want is it's the experience of being at the convention. It's you getting something there that you can't get anywhere else. Which, I mean, you could argue that's the guests or the vendors, but it's it's really, the thing that really draws people to cons is being at the con and going places, or not going places, and like just seeing everybody, doing the events, seeing everything. So we're really trying to kind of amp up the experience, kind of aspect of some of the events and stuff.
As con goers, all of us can agree that pre-pandemic, we probably all got into the habit of it's a convention. You go for you go through your normal routine at conventions as you were doing. Then when COVID hit and the cons were taken away, you didn't realize how much you really enjoyed or needed to get out to these conventions
Hmm.
until you couldn't actually go. And we've heard stories of people who were burnt out. I'm done with cons. I'm never going back. Da 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 da. Then they couldn't go, and once things opened up again, they're like, I can't wait to get back. I've missed this. And as a sports fan, especially a New England sports fan, having gone to Red Sox games, tailgated at Foxborough Stadium or Gillette Stadium for the Patriots, and experiencing that type of atmosphere, it's a very similar atmosphere at these cons. Just people are having fun, especially coming back post COVID. Kineticon last year was the first con that we went to after cons started coming back. They had pushed it back quite a few months. Things were, as you know, first con back, a lot of hiccups, a lot of things didn't go smoothly, but it was so good, A, to be back at a convention, and B, the people who were there you knew really wanted to be there. You
Hmm.
did not really hear the stories of troublemakers. Yeah, there were some things that happened, but people were genuinely happy to be there, so they behaved a lot better than
Hmm.
they were pre-pandemic, where they were taking for granted the fact that they were at these events.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, for me, I I pretty much, I work and then I do cons. That is my life, pretty much. So when it just became work, like this past 2 to 3 years have all kind of blended together into one mush mash for me, because there was nothing to like break up my day-to-day life anymore. It just work, 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 work. And whereas before, I kind of measured time by, oh yeah, no, April's around, it's Anime Boston time, and then it's June, it's this con, etc. And without having all those cons I would go to, everything has just all kind of blended together, and time just is it was both long and short at the same time. Like it was a long period of time in which I have no memories. If that makes any sense.
Oh, it does, and that's one thing that like my wife and I joke about with conventions, especially with the cons coming back, where it feels like you wait so long for them to come, and then in the blink of an eye, it's time to go home, and the cons pass, and you're like, man, what just happened?
Hmm.
You don't realize how much time really flies by when you're at these events, and
Yeah. I mean, I always think of that like on Saturday at the con. I'm like, man, this tomorrow's gonna be Sunday, and then it's time to go. Uh, and I keep wishing, like I would like a week-long con, although I did that once and I was wrong. I do not want that, but it always feels like that's what I want it to be.
I can. I've never had a week long con. I have been to a few 4 day. I've been to one 4 day con, quite a few 2 and 3 day cons,
Mm. So
and
we did a 4-day con in 2012. We've only done that once because man was that expensive. Um, and it was fun. I loved having the extra day, but the stress and the amount of planning and what it did to our budget was just not feasible at this time anyway. Going forward, maybe one day. I really love the extra day that you kind of get when you have a 4-day con. But anyway, but in that uh, during that time, it just things worked out that I wound up working the con for a whole week just because of um, it was the extra day, and then there was a thunderstorm on the day the guests were due to fly out, so their flights all got canceled. So then we were there even another day, and it just kept going. So that was a fun year. It was fun, but it was also not fun. But you know, looking back on it is funner than it was at the time.
It's an experience,
It's an
which is
experience. Yes.
as Scott would say, and we've had Scott on the show quite a few years ago. Used to love going to his panels when he would have them at AAC. Loved his 18 plus panels and stuff that he did. So it'll be great to. Is he going to be at Anime as
Yeah,
well? Or
he's actually on staff, helping us out with some stuff.
oh,
So
fantastic! I'm
yep.
excited. I'll be excited to see him again. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think in many of our cases, it's been too long since we've seen each other.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, one thing that I've always loved about Anime in the past, and I think the last time I was there, you guys didn't do it, was there going to be a chance of the charity auction returning this year? Or
There's currently not this year. We're hoping to get back into that, but the bit with the charity auction, it requires us to have items to auction off, and just coming back from COVID, and what we had for budget and stuff, it just really had to go to other stuff. And we a lot of the stuff in the charity auction in the past has been stuff that we had donated, and it's just been harder uh, to get that as as time goes on. And especially since some of that stuff that we would donate used to be that we would get stuff from the companies to use at the con, which we could then put into the auction and stuff like that. And since really everything's been moved to the streaming, we don't get sent screeners or anything anymore. It's all just digital, right online stuff. So a lot of the support we used to get from companies is not there in the same way anymore, which pulls away from not just the charity auction but other stuff. But we have some thoughts that we were kind of talking about this year for charity auction, but just really didn't pan out. But hopefully for future years.
hopefully, because we've always enjoyed donating prizes to charity auctions. Typically, it's a guest co-host spot for a voice actor interview. We've
Hmm.
donated, I think, 4 years in a row to Anime's charity auction that prize. One guest got to join us when we interviewed Caitlin French. I think one joined us
Mm.
for a Megan Shipman interview, and um, so I've always enjoyed. That's one thing that we love doing with this show is connecting the fans to the voice actors and stuff. And
Yeah, and that's kind of a thing that we've always really tried to push. Sometimes is we want one of the things we always kind of wanted to do is really connect people a bit more with uh, I don't know if the industry is the right term, but with the idea of how things get made, how um, people do everything. Or just like like real like more than I don't know, not just a fan, but like a fan that actually is getting a bit more into
an
the
educated fan.
yeah, I guess that's the word. It's not quite what I'm thinking, but that's close. Just
Pro-
just yeah,
Probably the best terminology that we could come up with at the not that the fans aren't educated, but
yeah,
there's always more that they can learn.
right. Yeah,
And
like just having it so that you have a little more insight into the industry that you otherwise might not. So,
And that's one thing that we try to do on the show. And Darren, you can agree with me on this, is when we bring the voice actors on, we try to showcase the voice actors themselves. Yeah, we talk about the characters they voice, but we want the fans to be like, not just think, oh, well, we have Megan Shipman on, who was the voice of Maple and Bafuri, but Maple is a great character, but let's talk about Megan and who she is, what she does, so
mm,
people get to know the face and the voice behind the characters that they bring to life.
mhm. And
Also,
and that's another nice thing is that um having run the convention, I often one of the roles I often get put into is that I'm overseeing the guests, making sure that they they're getting the stuff they need, which I end up spending a lot of time with some of the guests. And the last thing they really want to talk to me about is about anime or about their roles, because that's what they get. That's what they're there for, the whole convention. That's what they're there for. So when they're kind of on their downtime, and this is what I've just been told, is that they really enjoy talking with people about just other stuff, like other things that they're doing, that's not anime related. Like Greg loves DJing, and he likes talking about it, and that's well, he's got that overlap because he does anime dances quite a lot, but that's not quite the same as like the talking about the technical or the things about DJing that's more than just I'm at the dance type stuff. So it's really cool the things that you learn that other people are doing or into. I think when Anthony Bowling was over, we both really like Brandon Sanderson, the author, and we spent a bunch of time just talking about his books, which was real fun. So.
And Anthony's a great guy.
Mhm.
We've probably had him on. I would guess maybe 10 times. What do you think, Darren?
At least.
So he's definitely someone that we love talking to. It's been a while since he's been on, but I know that he's been busy
Mhm.
between producing, directing, and voice acting. And
Mhm.
hopefully we can get him on before the end of the year. It'd be great to catch up and congratulate him on the success of the hype of the One Piece movie that's coming out in
Mhm.
November. Um, it was exciting to see how that took over Times Square, which even though I've never seen One Piece, as an anime fan, to see something like that take over
Mm.
New York City, like in one of the busiest parts of New York City, is kind of when you think of all the years that the jocks made fun of the weebs, this is the weebs' way of kind of giving the middle finger back to the jocks.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm slowly chiseling my way through One Piece, like very, very slowly. I'm at like episode 300 out of too many. Um,
That's
but it's
further to me.
it's I find it's fun. It was one of those that I just hadn't started watching for the longest time. Like mostly 90% because that like instinct of everyone says this is great, so I'm not gonna watch it type thing that happens sometimes. But it's fun. I think it does a fantastic job of making you really enjoy when the villains get their ass handed to them eventually. Um, but it's fun. I just hit kind of like a time skip bit, which I personally do not like time skips all that much in anything. So I'm just kind of chiseling through it myself at the moment.
I am one of those people that if a series goes on too long, I lose interest.
Mm,
Especially now with all the simuldubs and stuff, and I typically will watch between 3 to 10 animes a season.
mm-hmm.
And so I don't have working two jobs. Half the time I'm catching an episode at 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 at night after I've gotten done with job two before going to bed. And it's like, okay, I can have enough time to watch this, maybe this one, figure out during
Yeah,
the week what I can watch when. And I don't
yeah.
have time to.
Oh yeah, no, I get maybe like 5 hours a week to watch stuff, usually on Sunday today, but I went to see Black Adam instead today. But yeah, I remember way back I used to be watching I was watching like almost every anime that was coming out way back, and I just cannot even remotely keep up with that anymore. Not to mention there's just a way more coming out now than there was, 10, 20 years ago.
Oh yeah, and we've been trying to keep up with quite a few shows. I know, like the big one that's season I want to say continuation of season one or season one part two with Spy Family.
Mhm.
That anime has kind of taken the anime world by storm.
Yep, that's one of the ones I'm going through. That's one of the current ones that I'm actually up to date on. Uh,
I know that when we did our fall preview special talking about the shows that were coming out this season, there were a few that I said were maybes, and I think I'm watching more of the maybes than the definites.
Ah.
And
Well,
of the maybes I'm watching include Reincarnated as a Sword, which
Hmm.
has actually been pretty entertaining. I've somehow gotten stronger when I improve my farm-related skills. Love Flopped has actually been kind of interesting. I've got to catch up on that. I think I'm one episode behind on that. Um, Flipping over to the Crunchyroll side of things, Pop Team Epic. I just started watching season 2 of that. Beast Tamer has been really good. Spy Family, Uzaki-chan. I started catching up on.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
She's still annoying as ever, but that's the whole premise of the show.
But
Yeah,
she's adorable.
I'm so behind. I mean, I don't, like I said, I get like maybe 5 hours a week, maybe. So
That's
I'm
more
on like
than me.
I'm watching Spy Family, the Rising of the Shield Hero season 2. Um,
Admittedly, not as good as season 1 as a whole, but I mean, it's part of the story, so can't complain too much.
yeah,
Every arc has their up and down.
that's true. And there's so many that are on my list, but for one reason or another, I just haven't been able to watch. I'm only midway through Overlord season 3, and part of that's because I was watching it alongside my brother, and we just can't find the time to both be watching it, so we were just kind of stuck there. I really want to get through it because I love Overlord, but just hasn't happened
Congratulations,
yet.
Doug. It's not just you.
I haven't even started 3 yet.
Ah,
I've seen 1 and 2. Got my wife to watch it. She's been enjoying it. She loves Albedo. Um, I'm more of the vampire chick fan.
Shout here.
Shaltier. I can never remember her name, but I like her over Albedo. Ross in the chat room says he's watching 20 animes this season.
I I got Spy Family, Mob Psycho 3.
mhm.
Oh, I think you would like Eminence and Shadow, Doug.
Yeah,
Yeah. Did you watch World's Finest Assassin?
that's the one where the assassin was getting ready to retire and they tried to kill him and he
He
ended up
got reincarnated as
reincarnated
a
as an
kid.
assassin.
Yep. That had to kill the hero.
Yeah,
You watched that one, right?
I watched. I don't know if I finished it, but I know I definitely started that one.
Okay, it's got those kind of vibes to an extent. And also it's got kind of got some Overlord vibes in the sense of the main character. He's not really the one running the show, even though he acts like he's running the show. Kind of an Ainz presence.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Hasn't been too bad. Um, then of course, More Than a Married Couple, but not lovers. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, Akiba Maid Wars. All I gotta say to that anime is what the.
I will say I am going back and rewatching Call of the Night in English with my wife because I watch it in Japanese, and if there's ever been an anime that has taken me by storm that I didn't expect, it was Call of the Night, and it's not even for reasons that you would think. I love how aesthetically pleasing they made the nighttime look in this anime.
Hmm.
It's so common to see animes where it's nighttime, everything's just dark. All the colors are blacks, deep grays, dark blues, just dark, dreary, it's nighttime. And this anime somehow brings out the purples and oranges and the
Oh,
beautiful glow of streetlights and vending machines in the darkness and the contrasting colors. And like the artwork itself drew me in, and the storyline was so good. I'm hoping for a second season. It needs a second season.
which show?
Call
Call of
of
the
the Night.
Night.
Call of the Night.
It's a high dive show, so I went through Sentai. About a middle schooler who ditches school because he's bored with it, doesn't really understand anything in life, ends up meeting a girl who turns out to be a vampire, decides he wants to become a vampire, but has to fall in love with her, but doesn't know what love is or understand how people can fall in love.
Yeah, I'm looking at these screenshots. That looks real nice.
It's beautiful. Like this, I think it was Gigic did a video
Yes.
talking about it, and I'm like, I need to see this now just because of the images that he showed. And I'm like, this show was, as Gigic would put it, it was a real banger.
Well, about to say, bangers more for the music, which you thoroughly enjoyed as
Oh,
well.
the music is fantastic too. And not just because of the band name Creepy Nuts, the music that they put on is actually really good. All the songs from that I've heard have been amazing. The opening, the ending, and some of the music during the show. It's like, this is a show I want to cosplay from.
I have to say, I don't think you'd look good in a nurse outfit dressed as a vampire chick.
Oh no, I wouldn't. No, no. God no. I would not dress as Nazuna. I would be the even though I'm not 14, I would cosplay as the 14-year-old.
Well,
Wigs do wonderful things.
I expected you to cosplay as the male trap, as the trap,
No.
the trap hire.
I
The
would
one that's,
I
the
would
one
leave
that's
that
not
more for
good.
you.
No. About to say, I'm not cosplaying Gasper either, so.
How about Nico?
No.
Ange
About to
isn't here to
say,
argue this one.
if I cosplay anybody, it's the one you see on screen right now, just without all the paintbrushes stuck in my chest.
Man, it's been so long since I've done a cosplay. Like probably like 10 years. Whew.
How young are you?
How young am I? I am 33. I hope. Yes, 33.
Okay,
You're still the baby, Darren.
I'm 26.
I'm 44. 44, and those who watched the stream last week got to see me dressed up as Kobayashi. But how many people dressed as Kobayashi could say that they actually got a Lulu to call them out? Oh, Ross has a good question in the chat room for you, Darren. Darren, would you cosplay as Konako
No.
if someone paid you?
Still no. I would honestly consider cosplaying as Gasper just because he's actually a guy.
I mean, I can always bend the rule with Kobayashi because in season 2, Lulu did turn her into a guy for part of one episode.
Pretty much. And
so you could say it's an actual representation, but
there have been several shows, if I'm not mistaken, where the girls got turned into guys, and there's been plenty of shows where the guys got turned into girls. Heaven's Lost Property, and of course,
gonna be the Twin Tail.
To Love Rue.
Yep. Date Alive.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was strictly crossplay, but still.
This is reminding me how much anime there is out there that I still haven't seen. So I used, way back when I saw almost everything that was out, and then just that kind of stopped happening. And now there's probably more out now than there was when I had stopped watching everything, just in that time period.
Well, when they debut between 30 and 50 a season, and there's 4 seasons in a year, I mean, you can only keep up with so much unless you're Misty Chronexia on YouTube, and literally that's what you do for a living is have a YouTube channel, or he did have a YouTube channel based on the amount of anime he knew. until YouTube got copyright strike happy.
Mm,
Which is, that's one reason why anybody who has watched our show or listened to us for years, we don't play the music we used to play. We don't have the show IDs that we used to air, is because we don't know, like, the music, even though we had permission to play it from the people who recorded it for the most part. YouTube is very finicky, and we want to stay on their good side,
mm.
especially where we only fully went YouTube with the show August of 2021. So we're still fairly new with our main YouTube focus.
To put it in perspective, sometimes YouTube is like Facebook's community standards. One of the guys I watch, completely different scenario. He literally had his video removed by YouTube for cutting tall grass, making tall grass short, and YouTube pulled his video down.
That's weird.
So he re-uploaded it, and it's still up.
And Ross says, sorry to creep you out, Darren, but it is Halloween tomorrow. But I did one year dress up as downloadable content version of Yagyu in sweats from Senran Kaguya. For the chest, I used balloons.
Well, I used to do balloon art. Probably need to get back into that at some point. But oh, he meant those kinds of balloons. Never mind. And I since I don't know what you look like, Ross, I can't exactly put a picture in my head. So
I will see if I can find a picture of Yagyu for you.
I have to say I watched Senran Kagura, but it's been years. I think I stopped like episode 6 or 7.
And if I remember correctly, oh yeah, it is the one that I was picturing. Here, let me share the screen. And if I remember correctly, I think she's voiced by Bryn April.
Oh, the one with the eye patch,
The eye patch, the umbrella, twin tails.
the cute one.
I have her figure sitting in the other room. It
I don't
was
know.
either
I don't
Bryn
know.
April or Felicia Angel was the one who voiced her. Only remember that because we had both of them on the show one night as back-to-back guests because I had a guest cancellation. I reached out to both of them and they both could do it. So I was like, all right, one from 8 to 9, one from 9 to 10. And then right after the show, I found a Senran Kaguya double pack figures of their characters. I was like, okay, I'll buy that.
There you go. And why is it it's all the girls with eye patches always turn out to be some of the cutest characters?
Because you're addicted to Megamine like me.
My
I
best,
I just watched Konosuba the first time last couple of weeks. That was one of the shows I started and then finished. So
explosion.
And Megamine, like, I know people like idolize Megamine or think she's annoying or have different feelings about her. I don't view Megamine as a waifu. I view her as like that adorable little sister you want to protect. She's just one of those fun characters, and something about the way that the the voice actors bring her to life in both the Japanese and the English. Both did a really good job at just bringing out a certain kind of charm, which, hats off to the voice actors who work on these projects to bring life to these characters that we fall in love with. Because it truly is a very difficult art for them to be able to enunciate words. And I was watching a video recently on YouTube where Joey the Anime Man was interviewing the most popular YouTuber in Japan. And he brought up an interesting point why he stays in a Japanese market as opposed to an English, jumping to an English market where he could grow bigger. And he said the pronunciation is different in Japan, to where you have so many different ways in Japan of saying the same thing, and the way you say it brings out different levels of passion in the word, which could convey whole different emotions, where the English language doesn't really have that.
Mm. We have it a little bit, but not to the same extent at all.
I don't know if you caught his comments before we went on the air earlier, but Matt was saying it depended on the area of Japan you were in, and different words had different meanings, or different varies of different levels of sincerity or usage, or I don't know.
But I think that's one reason why a lot of anime fans prefer the sub to the dub, is because you can get so much information based off of the tone of voice. You may not understand the language, but the way that they're coming across almost sounds more fluent and just flows smoother with the Japanese language than it does in English in some cases.
Mm. Yeah, I remember talking with some of the voice actors. I've always been a dub person. I love dubs. I listen to, I do watch the subs too. But the dubs is what got me into anime in the first place. Way back. That's just how I got into it.
Right. Same.
And just one of whatever thought thread I had going there has gone away. I was gonna say something. It's gone now.
The dubs got me personally into it. I watched like probably the first 20, 30 anime that when I really started getting into it, dubbed. And then there was a show that was like season 1 was dubbed, season 2 was not, or there was a show that someone mentioned that was only available in subbed at the time. I think it was To Love Rue.
Yeah,
And
because that took a while to get the dub out.
Yeah. So it might have been To Love Rue, and I just went in for the sub and then slowly started watching more and more and more and more. And eventually you just kind of phase dub out altogether. One of the last dubbed animes I think I was watching on a regular basis was Fairy Tale, and that's back when they were releasing 12 episodes at a time. So I think it was like episode 130, 140 something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I was just
go
gonna
ahead.
say that I think it's real neat that we got the simul dubs happening now, even though it's not necessarily always the same week, but being able to get the next subbed or the next dubbed episode without having to wait months and months after the whole show's been released has been real nice.
And I started off watching dubs primarily. I would watch subtitles from time to time, but I prefer the dubs. Getting into doing this show, I viewed watching the dubs A, as a form of entertainment, B, as a form of research. Because when you watch shows, and whether you watch all these animes in English or you watch them all in Japanese, you tend to pick out certain voices, and it's like, oh, you hear the way somebody says something, and you're like, okay, I know that voice. That is, that's Monica Rial's voice, or that's Todd Havercorn's scream, or something of that nature. You can pick it out like that because you've heard it so much. And once you get to the point where we're at now, here in 2022, there are so many new voice actors out there that it's not uncommon to hear new voices. And you're like, I don't know who this is. If you're only watching subbed versus dubbed, especially in the English market, you could be missing out on some of the greatest up and coming actors / voice actors and have no idea about it. And we've been very fortunate here on the show I love looking out for newer talent and reaching out to them and bringing them on the show, even if they've only had a handful of roles to their credit, because it's fun to watch how their career grows. And I've seen so many people who have been a guest on the show who may have had 4 or 5 named roles prior to being a guest on the show, that now they're in triple digits.
Yeah.
I think we've been the first official interview of close to like 15 to 20 different voice actors, and getting to see how these people have grown and their careers have just exploded is absolutely amazing. And it's been such a fun ride to see how these people who are working so hard behind the scenes, and as fans we will never fully understand how much time and effort that they put into their craft.
Mm.
If you're not actively working on acting, especially voice acting side of things, if you're not in the booth, you're not figuring out how to record yourselves. Do I have the right microphone? How's the sound quality coming through and stuff of that nature? These are all things that they're thinking of, that the average fan who watches it, no idea what even goes on behind. They just know these people go into a booth, talk, make some cool stuff, and call it a day. It seems like a fun and easy job, but really there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that I have nothing but the utmost respect for, not just the voice actors, but even the engineers and the people who work behind the scenes, who get maybe a quick blurb on the screen at the end of an
Mm-hmm.
episode or the end of the series on the
Oh, yeah.
DVD.
I mean, one of the nice things that we've done with anime in the past is we were able to get some guests that just you normally wouldn't see at most conventions. We had uh, uh, Stephen Hoff was
Yeah.
one of the. I don't think he does it anymore. He's moved on to some other stuff, but he did all the the ADR, or not the ADR, but the mixing and the editing and doing all the technical stuff with the sound that's been recorded. And that's just a neat thing, and we try and look. Doesn't always work out, just because it's hard. Some of those people are hard to get a hold of and find, because no one's asking to them to be guests, so they're not people that you can easily get a hold of.
Most of them
But
don't have agents.
yeah, exactly. And so, but it's real fun when we can get someone there, and then we can learn, as I said before, to get the educated fan, like we're kind of talking, is where people can learn a bit more about what actually goes into the creation of all the stuff that we really really enjoy.
Now, for our fans out there who may be interested in going to Anime, if they can't make it this year, but in future years, and they're looking for specific guests, are there ways that people can reach out to you and suggest guests for future cons?
Yes, we have an email on the website, but well, I would say the best way would just be on our Facebook group. Shoot us a message and suggest us some guests. We do our best to reach out to people and get a hold of them, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Unfortunately, one of the issues this year is there was just scheduling conflict with some of the people who we knew did want to come, couldn't, because they had made they had pre-existing arrangement with other cons that were on the same weekend, and stuff like that, which is unfortunate, but it happens. But we do try and reach out to whoever we can, and just see if we can make an arrangement and get them to the con. Because again, it's it's just real fun having people there and really giving people especially at a smaller con. It's a much different. If anyone listening hasn't been to a small con versus a big con, personally, I think the guest experience is a much different ball game, because at big cons they're far away and they get ushered around and you never really get to interact with them, and generally at small cons you have a bit more of an opportunity to really interact with the guests, which I always think is a really really neat thing.
And that's one thing that I've always said about the smaller cons as well, is it's more of a homey family feeling con, as opposed to, like, you look at an Anime Boston or a Kineticon or Anime NYC, or these huge cons. Those are media suckers. Those are where
Mhm.
you go looking for specific merchandise. You want to get your autographs. You want to
Right.
just get the quick in and out, or you want to hang out with friends.
Hmm.
If you really want to be able to meet new people, have fun, you know, just enjoy yourself in a relaxing convention atmosphere. In Anime Boston, you're if you're not an hour and a half ahead of your panel in line, you're
Oh
probably
yeah.
not getting a seat.
Hmm.
Anime, you can show up right as the panel starts and probably get a seat for most
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah. Exactly. Um, yeah. It's. I mean, that's the benefit of the small cons is that you're pretty much going to be able to go to what you want to. That's at the con. You get a much more intimate interaction with people and stuff because you're all right there in that small space, as opposed to spread out over a huge convention center where every other person is someone new. So it's real fun being it's people have always asked me like if we did we want to have anime grow into a big Anime Boston like thing, and no, not really, not at all. One that would be a nightmare to coordinate. But I think that would lose if we get
The
too big,
charm.
we just wouldn't have the same feel, or that same, we wouldn't have the thing that I think makes anime real fun. So
And there's a certain charm to smaller cons. And
exactly, yeah.
uh, Darren, I know that the two cons that you normally go to are bigger cons in your area, right?
Mm, ones I think would be a mid-sized con. I mean, the attendance rate's between 10 and 15. And then, of course, Raleigh SuperCon is generally between 30 and 50,000.
Yeah, those are
So,
bigger cons.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
yeah.
talking like 200 to 300 here with anime. So
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've never been to a con that small.
yeah, it's a very different experience.
It is. And a con that small, I'll say right now, if you have social anxieties, if you're
Mm,
uncomfortable around large groups of people, which there are many anime fans who are afraid to go to these larger cons because of anxiety reasons, or you don't know how to interact with people, or many different issues that keep you wanting to, like, you want to go to a con, but a con of 10,000 people kind of frightens you. Find these smaller cons, an Anime. Bakuretsu Con was another one of my favorites. I know that it's been a few years since they've had it. Maybe
hmm
next year, they're saying. Um,
I got my fingers crossed because that's the con. It's right next door to me. So
I have been I have been talking with the previous con chair about, give them my name. I would love to volunteer year round to help out on things, and I've heard nothing from them. So I don't know. I'm really hoping COVID didn't kill it with the new group of people running it, because I know the previous person running it has her own anime store, and that taking up 90% of her time.
yeah, I actually drive by her store every day on my way to work. It's pretty cool actually. I mean, what I would have given for a local anime store when I was growing up here. Um, it's real nice that her store exists right now, which is really cool.
I have spent way too much money at her store. That's where a good majority of the figures I've bought this year have come from,
Hmm.
was from her store and not conventions, including, I think, almost every Nendroid that's on my shelf I have bought from her this year. Senko, um, Pig Dude from Demon Slayer, Hibiki, Yuna, Maple, yeah, everyone I've gotten from Black Knight Gaming. So I know I named off a lot of names there. Some of them you probably don't know, but it's like, okay, we've got Helpful Fox Senko-san, Demon Slayer, How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift, Bofuri, and Kuma 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 Bear, for the
Yeah,
shows that all that was from.
yeah. I mostly collect Evangelion merchandise, and they know like whenever if something comes in, I usually get a message, um, and then I go and snatch it up before anyone else can.
No, one thing I've noticed that a lot of cons have been doing since the pandemic was the incorporation of technology and virtual
Mm,
guests. Is that
hmm
anything that Anime has thought about? I know you're coming back. This is your first year back, but is that something that you and the other board of directors have talked about?
We've talked about it. It's not something that was really feasible for us, partially because um, the internet at the hotel is not the most reliable, and that's it's one of the things we really have to plan. A big part of convention planning or running, I would say, is really just putting out fires and fixing all the stuff that goes wrong because stuff is going to go wrong. Like there's never been a year where something didn't go wrong, and the real key to running the convention is making sure that when it goes wrong, no one notices. Um, which we've not always been the best at, but most of the time I think we resolve things so that everything went smoothly. But so for the virtual guest things, it's something that we would just need a lot of more time than we had to just make sure that that wasn't ever going to be an issue and that wasn't going to go wrong. Because we have in the past just had times where things that were supposed to rely on the internet cut out. And usually that worked out because luckily most these days people can just start up a hotspot on their cell phone. But um, for something that we really need to rely on there, it was not something that we could have really do so much. And the other guests that we knew would have done it were already had prior obligations, unfortunately. So, but
Oh yeah.
it might be a future thing. I don't know how. I mean, I've not myself. I don't personally find them as engaging as the in-person events. Just because I think that's like eh, the difference between going to a con and watching anime at a con versus watching it at home on your streaming service. That like going back to saying that the cons are the experience, not necessarily the
Yeah.
content type thing. But we have definitely talked about doing potential future virtual stuff. We have talked about we have vague plans for doing like a half year, but between now and next year, like a virtual slash online event to just kind of you know give people something in the meantime while we're planning the next year, stuff like that. So it's might be something we see in the future. I don't know how prevalent it will be at cons or at our con, but uh, I wouldn't say never because uh, you know we'll see how things go in the world and just whether or not that's something people if that's something people come to expect, it's something we want to offer.
And the main reason I brought that up is I know recently there's been a huge influx in the popularity of the VTuber community.
Yep.
Anime Boston brought in HoloLive VTubers. It's not uncommon. We saw at Kineticon last year, there was an artist who had a proxy seller at her table while she was VTubing there. She couldn't physically go because of being ill. So she VTubed herself and
mm,
interacted with everybody live streaming with a camera set up so she could see
mm,
people as they showed up
mm-hmm.
and could say hi to them and you could hear her and everything and it was
Yeah, and that I mean
really interesting.
that's a really cool thing because again that comes back to that's a very cool experience that again that's yeah that's real cool. We do have a couple of local creators, local VTubers that are actually coming to the con to be running some panels and stuff, which will be pretty cool. But yeah, no, that's like you said, like VTubers have just exploded over the last couple of years. So I wouldn't
and
be surprised to see more of that, going forward with cons.
and Ross is asking, you mean Iron Mouse? Iron Mouse was not one of the VTubers that was at Anime Boston. She was actually at one on the West Coast with Connor Sea Dog VA. I think it was Anime Expo or something in San Diego. Um, Iron Mouse is one. Like there are a few VTubers that I watch that are more well-known VTubers. There are some friends of mine who do it as well. But if I could get somebody like Shy Lily or Iron Mouse on the show, I probably would fanboy. I won't lie over a VTuber, but it would be like it would be a huge accomplishment. And much like Anime-Zing Radio, even though we've been going for 8.5 years, we're still really small. And I would love to see growth. I would love to make an income from doing the show. But at the same time, I don't want to lose who we are. We started off as a podcast to give back to the anime community that helped me get through a messy divorce. And so many other people have used anime and comic books and the pop culture genre to get through many different personal traumas.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could, and having a platform where I can give back to the community that helped me out, that was my biggest goal. So I've always wanted to reach out to conventions, cosplayers, artists, musicians, gamers. Yes, our best shows and our most listened to shows are the voice actor interviews, but there are so many other talented people who go to these conventions, and we want to showcase everybody.
Yeah.
So that's a brief history of why I started the show, and what our goal is to provide quality, positive content to people, especially on social media in a time where everything is chaos.
Mm.
Yes, there are plenty of bad stuff out there, and we'll touch on it from time to time, but we try to look at we try to look at the positive side of things. And yes, as anime fans, we will have the arguments. Our co-host, who is unable to join us, watches anime that is completely 180 degrees different from what Darren and I typically watch. She and I are like polar opposites, exactly polar opposites. I think, Darren, you've watched more things that she likes than I have.
I believe so. But that's not saying much, considering our lists are still fairly different. I mean, I'd say 80% of my list lines up with yours.
I'd say maybe 5% of my list lines up with hers. So
if yours at 5, then maybe 10% being generous.
So it's just fun because we'll have the banter, and we'll all pick on each other on our anime tastes and stuff. And sometimes it's fun to poke the bear, right, Darren?
Yeah, especially shows that she doesn't want us talking about at all.
Yeah, there are certain shows that that when she's on, we will try to bring up in some way, shape, or form, just to get a rise out of her, to be like, man, we've gone X amount of weeks without you talking about this show, and now you bring it up.
I have to say, I'm surprised she keeps track.
She likes keeping track of stats, so it doesn't surprise me at all. That's why that's why I have entrusted all the podcasting, uploading, and editing, and all that stuff to her, because she loves it.
Well, she's also the one that literally has more free time than between the two of us.
Yeah. And question for Colin from Ross in the chat room says, have you in your life ever seen the anime Panty Pony Dash? If not, highly recommend watching it. I think it's better than Ghost Stories.
I have seen Panty Pony Dash. It is one of my favorite things. Yes. That takes me way back. That was 10 plus years ago that I saw it. Probably like 15 or more. I don't know. I lost 3 years, so all my time scale is off now. But I love Panty Pony Dash. It's a fun one.
And I apologize if anybody heard me coughing there. I've been dealing with a cold all week, and the cough is still around. So I may mute from time to time because of that, so people don't have to hear me, hacking up anything. But we are excited about Animeine coming up. What are some of the panels that you have lined up for Animeine?
So you can actually see our schedule on the website. It is live now. There may be some minor tweaks before the con, just if sometimes people drop out and whatnot. But we have a couple of neat things. So there's one person there's a panel where they're coming to teach the actual martial arts like no contact teaching, right? But the martial arts that were used in Avatar: The Last Airbender for all the different for the different elements. There we got sketchbook swap, which is a kind of cool creator art thing where the people can come in and they'll be swapping sketchbooks with their fellow artists, and then we'll just everyone be drawing together. That'll be cool. We have our dance, which neat thing is, even though Greg Ayres really wanted to come this year, but because of prior engagements he could not, but he is giving us a pre-recorded dance mix that we will be doing for the dance on Saturday, which is called the Let's Do the Time Warp Again, because time again, the time skip theme. You can see there on there we got the How to Spot the Bootleg and the Bootleg Bomber, which is always a fun thing because we'll be destroying bootlegs in some super cool fun way. Which that's my specialty. That's the panel I get to run and always do some really cool stuff. There's so many things I want to do in that panel that I just can't because of safety reasons. But one day, there'll be someday I can do some really cool things. I would love to get like a vat of acid or something. I think that would be really cool.
And I'm looking at the viewing room with some of the
Oh,
animes that
yeah.
you are going to be displaying for people. And there are some interesting choices that make me smile and happy they're on there, especially because I think they're hidden jewels that most
hmm
people don't even have on their radar.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that,
I know for me, that's how I discovered. I mean, at least when I first started going to conventions, that's how I first discovered some shows that I wound up really enjoying. Was just popping in my head at an anime convention and seeing something and just thinking it looked really cool, checking it out later, and really loving it.
included in that is Recovery of an MMO Junkie, which I thought was a fantastic anime that nobody ever talks about. And Restaurant to Another World. When season 2 came out, like I watched all of season 1, thought it was a cute, wholesome, fun little anime just to watch time and feel good about. I didn't realize that when season 2 came out, it actually had a storyline leading up to something bigger. And I am so happy that that is one of the shows that is going to be airing.
hmm Yeah, and it's an interesting thing is that some people either don't know or don't quite think enough about how this works at cons. But you're not really supposed to just pick an anime you like and then show it at cons. That's technically illegal. And we try to keep everything as far above board as we can with anime. As specifically since we're all about supporting the industry and stuff. So the way this really works is that we have to get approval from the anime companies about what we can or cannot show. And it's funny that has just changed. I mentioned a little before that has changed a lot since 2011 when we first started. It's pretty much been different. Every couple of years has been a completely different feel or with how it worked. In 2017, 2018, early on, it was, basically we would find stuff we would want, we would ask permission, and then they would either, one of us, usually it was something that we had on hand, DVD-wise, and could stream. Otherwise, they would send us some physical copies that we could then, show for screeners. And then it got to a point where we would get the files actually sent to us to watch it. We got a few things from Sentai one year that they had like the DVDs hadn't even been printed yet, and they sent us a few of the files so we could show them, which is a really cool thing. But then as time went on and we started getting all the streaming services, then they actually started being like, oh, just go find stuff on the streaming service. You can show anything you want except this one episode of Attack on Titan, which was a funny experience. I guess there was some sort of licensing issues they were facing at the time. And now it's different again. Basically, we contacted the company and they gave us a list of whatever of things that we can show, and we just have to pick. We can pick from that list, and this is kind of the selections we wound up with.
And it's interesting to hear how that has all changed throughout the years. And again, this is stuff I think that the regular attendees don't think about,
Hmm.
especially as conventions change. Like we talk a lot about the change in anime and stuff like that, but what convention promoters and what you guys do behind the scenes, you have so many rules, regulations you have to abide by
Hmm.
that the average attendee doesn't even think of. They just think, I want to buy my ticket and have fun,
Yep.
not knowing that there are so many hoops that you guys have to go through to not piss off the big guys,
Hmm.
so that you're able to use their content for future events.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
uh, there's always that fine line balancing act. And that's one reason that I have always tried to thank staffers at conventions. Even if I don't, like, most of the time I thank a staffer, they're just a volunteer who has been working for a few hours. It's not often I get to talk to somebody who's in charge of the convention or things of that. But really, like, as some being in the industry that we're in, being a podcaster, a source of media that people, there are people out there who I know look up to us as a means of, okay, they want to get a better understanding of what goes on behind the scenes. I've been very lucky in my lifetime to have a wife who's an artist, so I understand artist alley ins and outs, table setup, takedown, what it's like interacting with the guests, what it's
Hmm.
like interacting with the fans who come through, being a press, having an understanding of proper etiquette to talking to attendees, things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I haven't done is work for a con, but having talked with you, I've talked with the con chair of Anime Boston, the owner of Northeast Comic Con, we've been friends with for years, Sam Chase with Chase Con and Saratoga Comic Con, and uh, the Poughkeepsie Comic Con that he has. We've known him for years, and getting to work with many other cons. And you know, we hope that we can provide a better understanding to our viewers and listeners out there that what goes on behind the scenes is very, very stressful.
Hmm.
Anytime I've asked somebody who puts on a convention, what's the best advice you could give somebody who's thinking about starting up a con, every time they say, don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would say don't do it. I think this has been, it's been such a great experience. But what I would say is that if you're gonna do it, just know it is a lot of work, and you're gonna be putting time and money to it that you never thought you were gonna. Um, but I mean, at least for me, it's just a really, really rewarding experience seeing how many people just enjoy the con every year. Like we have people that come back every year. They love the con, and it's just I just really enjoy just seeing how much people like coming to Anime every year. It's a really, really rewarding experience.
And for those of you who will be attending Anime, I will have a panel from 1 to 2 p.m. called So You Want to Be a Podcaster, where I'll be talking more about what it's like to put on these shows, a lot of the trial and error that I've had throughout many years. Anime-Zing Radio, as you've heard me say many times, is 8.5 years old, but I've actually been doing podcasting and internet radio for over 15 years when you tack in all the paranormal talk radio stuff that I've done, which a lot of people cock their head and question, how did you go from paranormal to anime? Um, that's an interesting story in and of itself. And when you have a demonologist cancel Sunday before a Wednesday show and you randomly reach out to a voice actor
Wow.
to take their place, get the confirmation from your booking producer that everything is all set up at 1 o'clock Wednesday for an 8 o'clock show while you're at work. I got out of work at 6, home at 6:30 to promote this well-known voice actress. Last week on the show, the host of that show that I was a co-host on was listening in, and I actually found out the numbers. We had 10,000 people tune in to that show,
Oh.
We crashed the chat room. The only time in Hazy Radio history for the show is called Crossing the Void Radio. The only time that had ever happened in the history of that show. All because I randomly decided to reach out to a voice actress known as Jeremy Lee. And she joined us. She said maybe a half hour she could stay because she was preparing for Anime Boston that weekend. She stayed for an hour and 45 minutes until her phone died. We talked about anime, video games, all sorts of cool stuff. She was really a sweetheart, and that really is where the whole idea of AZR started from. Realizing that at the time there wasn't a whole lot of podcasts out there that were anime based. Where could people get to know more about voice actors and stuff? And having her on led to getting Tia Ballard. Todd Habercorn, I think, joined us twice on Crossing the Void. Terry Doty, who's been a guest at Anime-Zing. And it's just been really a wild ride since then. Just taking the chance to reach out to somebody I'd never talked to before and being like, hey, this is who I am. This is what we do. This is the situation. Would you like to be a guest? We'd love to talk to you about your career.
It's very cool.
Never in a million years would I think that I would be sitting here doing my own show for 8+ years. Darren has been an amazing co-host. Very, very knowledgeable behind the scenes. Plus, Darren, you've got some industry experience somewhat. I think he fell asleep. It's not uncommon. Darren works 2 jobs. One of the jobs that he does is his own business of landscaping, but he's typically pulling between 60 and 80 hours a week. So it's not uncommon for him to fall asleep during the show. And HH in the chat room says, yeah, tell me about it. And those anime podcasts tend not to broadcast regularly enough to have an audience. Which, talking about that there hasn't been a lot of anime podcasting. The fact that almost every Sunday night outside of traveling to or from conventions, we typically do a live show minus the Christmas, New Year's break that we take every year.
Wow.
So I'm pretty good to average 45 to 50 shows a year. If you include specials, stuff during the week, it could be even more than that.
Nice.
So, we have a lot of fun. I take the show seriously. I love this is a labor of love, and like I said, it's an honor to have you on the show because, as you can tell, I've been passionate about Anime for a long time. I'm not just like, oh yeah, I've been there and can't name a guest. It's like, no, I've seen Terry Doty, Tia Ballard, Carrie Kieran was a fun. That might have been one of the best guests experiences that we had when we went to her room, went to her panel for meditation.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we when we kind of offer guests is we tell them that we'll take if you have a weird panel that you might not be do at like another big con because it's experimental or what have you. We've had quite a few of those over the years from different guests, and I always think that those are neat panels because like we were talking about getting to know the guests as people. It's fun whenever the guests get to do a panel not just on their job but on something that they are passionate about outside of what they normally do every day.
Oh yeah, Tia Ballard did an art panel. I know Greg Ayers loves to talk about mental health, and because that's something that's very passionate to him as well. How to handle post-con depressions and things like that, which a lot of people go through. This is real stuff that it's great that you give these, the voice actors and other panelists, place to put on these things.
Yeah, no, it's real fun because, at the end of the day, we're all like, we're all fans of anime, but that's not, we're not like a monolith. we all have other interests, and I think it's just a real neat thing that we get to see some of that overlap between, this is all the anime stuff we love. This is all this other stuff that, some of us also might be interested in, and actually get that experience in there. That's all. It's always real fun, and even like not even just interested in, but just like with the mental health panel and stuff about just getting people, because I mean it's a thing that when cons are over, or just sometimes the cons are like the best part of your year, and it's just then you have to go home to the not cons and stuff. And I just think it's real nice that we get to just get all of that in there, and it's like I said, it's the small con experience of being a little more like, I'm not gonna be corny and say it's like we're like a family, but it is kind of
It is
like
a
that.
family.
So yeah,
You do get that family atmosphere. And a good family atmosphere, not one of
yes,
those messed up ones like in Anime Boston.
yeah, it's
I can't say.
a good family atmosphere. Exactly.
And talking about getting to learn other sides of people, we had Christy Rothrock on the show last weekend for a Halloween special, and we really didn't talk a whole lot about her career on that show. We talked more because Halloween is tomorrow. We were
Hmm.
talking more of the paranormal side of things, and it was kind of neat to geek out paranormal wise about ghosts and UFOs and all that stuff with Christy, because she's huge into it, and I told her that I've been a paranormal investigator since I was 19, so like 25
Mm,
years.
yeah. Yeah, I mean it's always neat, like just the things that you learn about other people. Like Terry and her husband love horror films and stuff, and just think like Caitlin French loves Lovecraft. She did a whole panel on it one year.
She's also big into wrestling.
Yeah, yes, yeah. She loves the oh, I forgot what the whichever wrestling that is, where it's all like just super theatrical.
Like WWE style.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to correct myself and catch myself because most of my life growing up, it was not WWE.
Oh.
So when I go to talk about it, I have to be like, nope, it's not that anymore. So it's cool to get to know these people, and like you said, smaller cons. Like my wife and I still laugh about and I had the memory come up on Facebook from like 6-7 years ago, where we sat down and had like a 30-minute conversation with Caitlin French in the lobby of the hotel for Bakaretsuka.
Hmm.
Nobody even came up and bothered or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean it's again like it's this that small con feel you can get from that whole thing. So
And news that just came in through our chat. Ross is excited, and I kind of am as well. Big
ooh,
news I just saw. Banished from the Heroes Party is getting a season 2, just got announced. Banished from the Heroes Party was a really, really good show. I enjoyed that one, and I am excited to have that.
I'll have to check that one out. That one's been on my list of things to check out. It's there's so many. There's so many.
And HH commented back, "Oh, we'll have to have Red's voice actor back. He was a lot of fun. Aaron Campbell was a great guy to have on. Um, you know, more voice acting talent for you guys to look at in the future. People like
Mm,
Christy Rothrock, Aaron Campbell are both still young in the convention world.
mm.
Christy hasn't even been up to the New England area yet for a
Oh.
con that I know of. I know it's going to change next year, but as of this point, she hasn't been up here. And I don't know if it holds true a year later, but I know last year when we had Macy Ann Johnson on the show, she had never even been to a convention, not as a guest, not as an attendee, a cosplayer, nothing. And she's a talented voice actress as well. So, just names to throw out there for if you're looking for people to come to a future con, or
Yeah, no, definitely. I got a little bit of a Google Doc open that I've been jotting stuff down into. So
and I have the long list. No, I'm trying. You guys also had Megan Shipman one year, didn't you?
we did, yes. I think that
Oh,
was 28, 19,
it
18.
had to have been 2019 because we couldn't make it that year because we moved from Massachusetts to New York.
Mm.
And financially, we could not see going to Anime, where we had just moved. U-Haul screwed us over. We had to purchase a lot of furniture we had to throw out because we didn't have the U-Haul space to bring everything.
Ah, fun.
That cost us going to Anime NYC as press. That cost us from going to Anime. That cost us from going to, I think, 2 other cons that we wanted to really go to. But, and Megan's another person we've had on the show and multiple times. She's a sweetheart as well. Really, I haven't met any bad voice actors. They all have been amazing people.
Mm. Yeah, everyone we've had at Anime has been real fun. There were a few that I actually didn't get to interact with too much, but everyone really enjoyed having them there. And then usually when I do get to interact with them, it's a fun experience because just get to know people as people and not just the voices.
Oh yeah. And that's one of the cool things about what we get to do. You working with the conventions, you get to talk to these voice actors behind the scenes, get to know more about them as people. We
Hmm.
try to do that on the show here. Yes, there are times where it's like, oh my God, you're so and so in this show. I love this character. You geek out, fan out a little bit, and then you move on and be like, well, tell everybody more about who you are, what you do, and
Hmm.
I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these voice actors have multiple jobs.
Yeah.
Like with Christy, she's also a DJ, has a morning radio show that she does um, that I listen to almost daily because the music they play, I absolutely love. It's like 80s, 90s, early 2000s. So it's like, okay, this is all music I love. I listen to the show while I'm at work. People will be like, "Oh, what channel is this?" I don't. None of these towns sound familiar. I'm like, "Oh, it's Oklahoma." Where's the temperature at? That's where they're saying 90 degrees and high humidity. We're supposed to have like 30 degrees and rain up here in northern New York.
Yeah, so that's been. I mean, actually, this week here is not supposed to be too bad, but it's going from like 75 one day to 40 another day. It's bouncing around quite a bit.
It's no wonder everybody's catching colds and
Hmm.
getting under the weather a bit. And chat going on, or a conversation going on in the chat room. HH saying a Uzaki fan, but tend to hate rom-coms. And Ross responded back with, not interested in Uzaki. It just looks more comedy than romance to me. Season 2 has actually sparked more of the romance side. The comedy is still there, but there is some hints of things that could be blossoming. I will say that much. I have been entertained. Uzaki's still an annoying little twit, but she's showing more feminine than the miserable Uzaki that she has been in season 1. So I am curious to see where that goes. Now, what else can people expect from Anime this year? I know, we've gotten way off talking about all
Yeah,
sorts of things, but Anime is the big focus, and we want people to
yeah.
know just what you guys are bringing to the table and why people should come out to see you guys.
Well, I mean, we talked a lot about how, like, especially if you've never been to a small con, it's an experience that I think everyone should have, and just kind of seeing what it's like and stuff. but we know we have the schedule. We talked about some of the panels. One of the things that we do have that I'm kind of pretty proud is we have a pretty fun video game room every year. It's just kind of gotten like video games from all eras, and that's usually always really 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 fun. And we might I don't want to commit to this because it really depends on some travel logistics that I'm trying to work out because my car is only so big. But we might have some really cool VR stuff. We've had a little bit of VR stuff in the past, but we might have some neat VR kind of treadmill type things there for people to check out and just do some of the VR stuff because it's real cool. It's just real cool.
I have never done VR.
Oh, I didn't until earlier this year, like beginning of the year. My sister got an Oculus Quest or whatever, it's Meta Quest, whatever it's called now. And so she had it, so I'm like, all right, I'll try this. And man, it is fun. Like once like Beat Saber is real fun. There's Pistol Whip is another really cool game. I unfortunately can't do any of the games where you're actually like walking around with the controllers because I instantly get nauseous. But if it's a game where I'm standing still or only moving as I actually move, then I have a real fun with those. So they're real good, and one of the I think it's real neat that we're going to be able to have at least a few things in the video game room for people to kind of check out some of that stuff if they haven't before, because it's a real fun experience. We had way back like I think other cons have VR stuff too, but we way back had started, I was able to get a hold of a really early Oculus Rift way back when they were still, it was like I had like the development kit version, and we were able to hook that up and people got to play some neat games of that really early version. And the technology has come so far since then. So that's I mean, I really like the VR games is where that's going, but it's some real fun stuff, and I would say definitely check it out while you're there because
I
it's cool.
I've seen like some videos of people playing VR. Like I think one of the funnier ones I watched was VR Among Us,
Mm-hmm.
which I know that game blew up out of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
and it seemed kind of interesting where you had to like they had to try to walk around and
Mm-hmm.
get through all the maps and everything. And
Yeah, I mean, and it's also like, I'd seen lots of videos of people playing Beat Saber, but it honestly it is a not even remotely the same experience watching someone play VR versus playing VR. Uh, it's real fun.
Space Cow says, "Don't tempt me with Beat Saber."
It's a good game. Oh,
So it looks like there are a lot of good things that you have planned for all the
yep.
attendees and everybody for Animaine this year.
Yeah, and we have, like I was just gonna really run through some of the panel. We have a bunch of karaoke stuff. One of our staff members is always just loves karaoke, so we have a bunch of real cool, fun, interactive things. Like I said, trying to get more experience related stuff. I talked about the Idol showcase. There's going to be a game of Werewolf, which is always really popular. People love that game. And yeah, there's just a lot of other cool little neat panels we're doing every year. And then we have I'd be remiss if I didn't mention we have a nice artist alley. It's going to be there where we got artists from near and far, showing their stuff. I mentioned it briefly, but one of the things we wanted to be a little more creator focused with some of the stuff we did at the con. So we really want people to be able to see new artists or kind of give them people be interested in new artists or learn to do stuff on their own because as someone who doesn't create anime, I would love nothing more than for there to be more people out there making stuff I want to watch. So even though we just talked about how there's already too much out there and I can't watch it all, I still want more.
Oh yeah. I think we all want more.
Yeah.
And I know Darren has fallen asleep, but he's like me. We're both isekai trash. Those are our go-to shows. It
Yeah,
seems like
no,
every season.
me too. And sometimes I'm like watching a show and I'm like, man, I don't really like this show, but I enjoy it. Or what is it? And it was like, I really like this show, but I don't think it's that good, but I just really like it. Um,
I have my guilty pleasure shows, and the one that has come up recently as kind of the guilty pleasure show, like everybody says the show sucks.
mhm.
There's no real premise to the show, but I absolutely love the show just because if you're looking for plot, you're looking for amazing character building, storyline, this isn't the place. If you're looking for stupidity, entertainment, slice of life, just take it with a grain of salt and enjoy what you're seeing, then In Another World of My Smartphone is for you.
Oh yeah, no, I know people didn't like that, but I enjoyed that show quite a
I'm
bit.
waiting for season 2. I know it's
Are
getting
they
one.
there? It is doing one.
It's supposed to. I don't know when it's coming out, but man,
Nice.
I will be right there ready to watch it.
Yeah,
Kind of like with Another World is kind of like Restaurant in Another World. I'm like that got a second season. I was right there to watch it.
I really enjoyed Death March Death March to a Parallel World.
Rhapsody, yeah, that
Yeah,
one
yeah,
was
that one.
good as well.
And I don't think that one's getting a second season, which makes me sad because
No, I
I want
haven't
one.
heard anything.
I was very surprised and happy to learn, and I know it's out. I just haven't watched it yet. The Devil is a Part-Timer season 2.
I
That
started that
the
in
season 2.
Japanese.
Okay.
I started season 2 in Japanese. It didn't quite grab me,
Mm.
and I figured it was because the voices were different. I watched
Than
the
what you were
first
used
season
to.
all in
Yeah.
English.
Mm-hmm.
So waited for the English dub to come out. Got farther in English because to me it was better in English because those were the voices that I was used to.
Mm-hmm.
But still hasn't drawn me into where it's like I need to finish this.
Mm.
And I
I mean, I
hate saying
would.
that because I love the original.
Yeah, I was just still like astounded that like 7 years later, they were like, "All right, here comes season 2." I was like, "Whoa."
And it has nothing to do with and like it not sucking me in like the original did.
Mm.
May have some of it may be
Oh, they're doing a
because
season 3?
what? That's news.
Yeah. Well, I'm here for it, even though I haven't seen
Yeah.
season 2. But
we don't like Devil as a Part-Timer. You can go back through our YouTube channel and find our Devil as a Part-Timer special we did with Anthony Bowling, Tia Ballard, Josh
yeah.
Greeley, and Felicia and Shell.
Oh yeah, that's right. I talked. He. I was just remembering he did some panels on Devil's a Part-Timer way back when we had him there, because
Anthony helped organize that one. And it was amazing to have to be able to talk to the voice actors of Satan, Asiel, Chi, and Amelia the Hero. All on the same show. It's like, holy crap, this is cool.
Yeah, it was, man. That's, now I'm gonna watch it later. We'll see. Yeah, man, I do love the isekai genre, and sometimes I don't tell people that, but I do. I think there's only like a few that I've seen that I actively didn't like. Not actively, I guess passively didn't like. And I think this came out like a while ago. It was something Ragnarok, Einherjar, something.
Oh, Master of Ragnarok,
That's the
Lesser
one.
of Einherjar, yeah.
Yeah.
That
And
one was
well, like the bit that got me, or that turned me off from it, was I think the thing that I really enjoy about the isekai anime is seeing the character discover the world and interact with the world for the first time, and how they use whatever they had from Earth, and how that affected how they do the thing. And the Master of Ragnarok just kind of started after that had already happened. And it just did not interest me to see the character that already had everything good and
Figured
set.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's one thing that one thing I find funny about the isekai genre, especially nowadays, is it's almost to the point now of I'm watching an isekai not so much because it's an isekai, but because I want to see if they've done something different.
mm.
Reincarnated as a sword.
Mhm.
That the guy dies, comes back as basically a magical, intelligent sword with the ability to make deductions, use magic, and all that stuff,
Hmm.
and has to try to find a master or somebody to use him to the best of his abilities and the best of their abilities, and it just happens to be like a 10-year-old cat girl who's a slave. And it's like the storyline has been kind of cute, where it seems like it's a cool battle fighting anime with a wholesome aspect to it that you don't see in a lot of isekais.
Yeah, it's man, they're just fun. I I really enjoyed what is it? The coward hero is too cowardly. I can't remember. It's something like that where the hero is a coward or something where the hero is always like just he's all about preparing everything and just kind of before he even goes on one quest to save the world, he spends like 30 years training just like overkill or something like I forget what it is. Overkill cowardly hero, something like that.
Oh, the cautious
That's
hero
the
is
one. The
overly,
cautious hero is overpowered. I think that was it.
yeah,
That's the one.
overly
I enjoyed.
cautious hero.
I
Yeah.
enjoy, yeah, I enjoyed that. Also, like some of the lines were just like making fun of the fact that there are so many isekai um shows and stuff.
That is one of the show IDs that I missed the most, was Anthony doing that voice, being like, "All right, I am fully prepared. I'm 100% prepared to tell you you're listening to Anime-Zing Radio. Now somebody open a portal and get me the hell out of here." And Ross in the chat room says, "Just wait for next year's downgrade, reincarnated as a vending machine."
We'll see. I'll watch it.
Yeah. My other weakness in anime lately has been the musical animes.
Have there been more?
Uh,
Last I knew, the only musical anime I knew was Narima Daikon Brothers. Um,
I'm sure you've heard of Love Live.
I have heard of Love Live.
So you have Love Live, the original, Love Live Sunshine, Love Live, a third version, which I don't even remember because it was so terrible I didn't get through 3 episodes. And then Love Live Superstar, which is the current one that, in my opinion, is the best of the 4. And that one's going to be getting a 3rd season. You also have Show by Rock, which has, when we talk about music, it covers all genres of music. The characters are absolutely adorable. Um, I love this show so much I bought an art book. And when I say like the characters are adorable, the first main band is Plasmagica for seasons 1 and 2, and they're kind of like Animal Girls, but the music is really good. It's like pop upbeat. But you have Trichronica, which they play some mellower stuff, but more still pop. You've got but Bud Virgin Logic here, who does a lot of heavier metal type things, rock music. Zure does Zuri Zuri here is more traditional Japanese sounding music, so they're all over the board. And then you got 2 seasons of that. Then Show by Rock Mashi My Resh, which was kind of like a third season, but a whole different band. They incorporated season 2 of Mashi My Resh into Show by Rock Stars, where they bring all the bands from both shows together. The music from that is absolutely fantastic. And then we had the show that came out last season, or this past season, which it's an idol anime that blows Love Live away, in my opinion, because the storyline is amazing and the songs are fantastic. And that one's called Shine Post.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one.
That's a high dive title. One of our friends who is a huge idol anime fan, or a huge idol fan in general, was like, "Hey, check out a couple episodes of Shine Post and let me know what you think." And there was one episode that made me go, "This show is so much better than Love Live could ever dream to be." I think it was episode 6 when one of the characters who refused to be the center comes out and sings, and the voice was like a goddess singing. I'm like, this voice is amazing. And it wasn't until I looked to see who the voice actor was and what they had done until I made the connection, because she also voiced Himiko in Show by Rock Mashi My Resh.
Mm.
And absolutely loved that voice as well. Can't really see it, but I changed it to the Mashi My Resh girls on the background there. I know if I remove Darren because he's asleep right now. We actually did a Masha Myresh special, our last show on Blog Talk before we officially made the move to YouTube full time. We were honored and lucky enough to have the voice actors of Rihuyu, the purple hair, Giovanni, Lindsay Shepard was Rihuyu, Giovanni Cruz is Himiko, the blonde and pink hair, Macy Ann Johnson, who is Hawan, the blue eyes, and then you can't really see her, but Emmy Lowe with the shorter one, whose head is kind of blocked by my picture, all on the show at the same time with the director Megan Shipman.
Wow.
And it was just so cool to geek out over a musical anime with 5 amazingly talented singing voice actors, because the English dub of season 1 of Masha My Resh and all of Show by Rock, even the songs are dubbed.
Wow.
Which you almost never hear of in anime.
Yeah, no, it is. I remember like they used to do it way back, and then they stopped doing it, and so it's real cool to hear that happening again.
But we are almost out of time. We want to let everybody know
All right.
that next weekend here, next Sunday on Anime-Zing Radio, we will be welcoming Sean Chiplock to the show. Very talented voice actor. Many of our isekai fans know him as Subaru Natsuki from ReZero, the poor guy who dies more times in one episode than most villains do in a series. Also, November 13th, we will be welcoming Kelly Baskin, the voice of Amber in Genshin Impact, will be joining us. So back-to-back voice actors. It's going to be a fun start to November. Of course, you can find us at Anime coming up in 2 weeks. And once again, big thank you to Colin Harvey for joining us tonight. Colin, before we say goodbye, we want to give you a moment to promote yourself, anywhere people can find you, information about Anime. We call this our shameless plugging section, and the floor is yours.
All right. I mean, best way you can find us and find all the links to us would be at animain.org. And you can find information about the convention. Our schedule is live there. Pre-reg is still open. If you haven't gone yet, you can still pre-reg and get $5 off using the code TIMESKIP. Once the weekend rolls around, we'll be shutting that off, and it'll be $5 more at the door. So we'd love to have anyone who wants to come, please come. It's a really cool small convention. We have a really cool game room, some cool events, and it's going to be a real fun time.
definitely looking forward to coming out there. Stop by the table. Love to meet you in person. Like I said, we're going to be live streaming from the con. I don't know if I'm going to be doing 6-hour days like I've done it in the past, probably 3 to 4 hours. I know the vendors' rooms are open longer hours than some of the other cons I've done in the past. So uh, we will be doing live streaming Friday and Saturday. Excuse me. And a little bit on Sunday, probably before we head out. But definitely looking forward to seeing all of the wonderful people who are going to be at Anime-Zing. Definitely a lot of fun to be had there. If you can make it, I highly, highly recommend going and experiencing this great small convention atmosphere. Until next week, I hope everybody has a wonderfully safe Halloween tomorrow night. Be careful if you're out there driving. A lot of kids are going to be out there, and you never know where they're going to go. So keep your head on a swivel once the trick-or-treating starts. Stay safe. Enjoy anime, and until next week, we'll see you right here for more Anime-Zing Radio on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch.